Interview with a man accused of genocide in Rwanda. Vincent Bajinya, who changed his name to Vincent Brown when he became a British citizen, has been accused of complicity in conspiracy and crimes against humanity, yet he has consistently declared his innocence. Until today, a loophole in British law made it impossible to either try him here or extradite him, meaning he's been free to live and work in the UK. Today, as the Justice Secretary declared Britain would be no safe haven for suspected war criminals, that loophole was closed, meaning he and many more like him could now face trial in this country. Gordon Carrera reports.
Rwanda, 1994. In a brutal spasm of violence, nearly 1 million people were massacred in 100 days, an average of 7 a minute, many killed by machete. This was no spontaneous act, it was planned. But bringing to justice those responsible has been painfully slow. Now, some of those alleged to be behind this and other acts of genocide could be put on trial here in the UK.
The only way to have a healing is to have a justice.
There were people who were here, we know they're here, who are alleged to have committed crimes in the 1990s, who are treating this country as a safe haven.
The case of these 4 men has driven the change. This April, the High Court prevented their extradition to Rwanda to face genocide charges. It said there was a risk they would not receive a fair trial there. They then had to be released from custody because a loophole in existing legislation meant they could not be prosecuted here.
It left the United Kingdom with a problem because of its international law obligations, because there were people here in respect of whom there was credible evidence that they committed genocide. The question rose, what could the United Kingdom do with them? People looked in the law books and realised that there was this hole that prevented the crime being prosecuted here in the UK, and it's that's directly led to these amendments that we're talking about.
The way the 2001 legislation had been drafted meant it couldn't apply retrospectively. But after pressure from the Lords, the government today agreed to amend it to cover crimes going back to 1991. This means that for the first time, the genocides in the former Yugoslavia and Rwanda will be covered. Campaigners say they've identified at least 18 people in the UK who could stand trial. The 1994 genocide was a relentless, calculated attempt to eliminate the ethnic Tutsi population of Rwanda, a textbook definition of genocide. One survivor has found it painful to live in the UK, knowing that some of those responsible for killing her family and friends are living freely here.
I was 14 when, after genocide, you know, the thought of somebody who have killed my mother living in England, having run good hot water, you know, going to the supermarket, that's like a second, it's like killing you over and over.
Today's announcement begins a process for UK trials of genocide suspects, but it's not yet clear when such trials may start or who exactly will be in the dock. Campaigners say that while they're pleased with today's announcement, there still could be a loophole. They say it may not be possible to prosecute people who aren't resident in the UK, in other words, people who are either just passing through or who are seeking asylum.
I think the reason they've maintained the distinction between being present in the United Kingdom and being resident is to stop the UK, if you like, becoming a global policeman. What the government, I suspect, doesn't want to happen is to have people arrested very readily at airports and the UK being faced with a situation that it has to investigate and mount a prosecution.
Amongst the 4 men set free following April's High Court ruling was this man, Vincent Bajinya, who's changed his name to Vincent Brown and who has lived in North London. A doctor by profession, he'd worked for a charity training nurses after he arrived in Britain. He was held for more than 2 years at Belmarsh Prison, awaiting extradition on genocide charges before being released.
These are people who are seeking to make the United Kingdom their home. They've lived here for a very long time. Leave aside their legal status, and there is no reason whatever why those who want the benefits of living in this country and making the United Kingdom their home should not also have to pay the penalty if they offend against the basic tenets of civilization to which we all hold dear, and that has to include these kinds of crimes of genocide and crimes against humanity.
15 years after the genocide in Rwanda, the search for justice goes on. If the UK is no longer going to be a safe haven, then we may soon see the first cases to test the system.
Gordon Carrera there. Well, earlier I